What's up, guys? Back in me with The Fosters, Season 3, Episode 20, Kingdom Come, the season finale of Season 3. Okay, so this episode starts off with Jack Downey's funeral, and Jude's like, Jack may not found his place on Earth, but at least Kingdom, heaven is a Jack will find his kingdom in heaven. So yeah, so yeah. So yeah. So Justine's like, hey, let's have that event, but Callie, like, and we went out and do it, and Callie's like, it's not like a party, it's just like an event. So yeah. So Callie, so like, his sister's like, hey, what are you gonna do at Gabe with him still being in prison? And they're like, we don't know. And he's like, what about? He didn't know that Mariana was gonna show up there. It's unfair that he's in prison. And he's like, yeah, yeah. So anyway, so Brandon does tell Samuelina that he has a kid. That Courtney, the girlfriend that he's dating, has a kid, and Steph basically goes to Mike and says, "Hey, maybe you gotta talk to Brandon about how we don't want him to ruin his future, so he can play dad for a girl, so he can play dad for a girl and her kid." And he's like, just like, yeah, yeah. So anyway, yeah. And he's like, is this about Danny? He's like, no, it's about just like what you do with Danny and Anna. He's like, I'll handle it. So yeah, so he's like, you heard all that to Anna, and she's like, yeah. So Anna's all fine now. She's taking two AA meetings now to get herself back to shape from episode 17. So anyway, yeah. So yeah. Right. No. So yeah. So you know. So anyway. Yeah. So Nick saw Mariana and Matt kid. So yeah. Anyway. So Brandon's now 18, and they're sleeping in bed together when Courtney's ex-boyfriend comes, and he's like, hey, get out here, and she's like, get out of my bed, and she's like, it's not your bed, and he's like, get your stuff and get out of here, and he's like, when am I gonna tell Mason? And he's like, I was telling his mother's a W, and he's like, hey, he's like, do you want to mess with me? And he's like, you better be gone by the time he gets back. And poor thing bad for Courtney is that she discovered that her ex-husband took all of her money. So now, and he's like, can you do that? And she's like, she's still legally married to him. And he's like, what can I do? And she's like, nothing, Brandon, nothing. It's her business. So yeah. So yeah. So yeah. So yeah. So anyway. Anyway, Steph is talking about who placed Jack with Jack Pearson. Jack Downey with Jack Pearson. It was Arbiter, and they're like, there's only one we can play with Jack's death. So Daphne discovers a bill by Arbiter, and she shows Callie later on at the event, and yeah. And she's like, that means Justina does work for Arbiter, and yeah. So basically, Brandon confronts Matt and is like, hey, are you getting back with Matt? And she's like, no. Who said that? He's like, he did. And he's like, yeah. How could you hurt Nick like that? And she's like, I don't want to hurt him. And he's like, yeah, but if you date Matt and if you continue what you're doing if you want to love Matt but date Nick, you'd be hurting Nick. So yeah, and Mike basically talks to, and Brandon's like, he's 18, he can handle himself, and he can handle his mom. He's like, what does that mean? He's like, you let mom talk. You let when mom gets mad at you, you let her boss you around. And yeah, and Brandon and Mike takes this to heart by at the party he announces to Steph that Mike and Anna are now dating, and she's like she wasn't all over Gabe when she got reunited with him, and he's like that's none of your and she's like and he's like that's none of your business, Steph. Just stay out of his business. So basically, Mike is now staying up for himself. So yeah. So anyway, so Nick is going to looking for Mariana, where he sees Mariana and Matt kissing, and it's just like, kissing. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, she said she was kissing. They were saying goodbye, meaning that she was kissing him goodbye, which is wrong. So yeah, so Callie stands up and she's like, hey, and she's like, hey, hey, just yeah, that Jack is dead and it's and Jack Pearson was in a minute of getting Jack Downey beat Jack Pearson's death, and she just learned that Gina Mar works for Arbiter, and yeah, and they're getting a bill passed. So if you don't want it, and if you pass this bill, more foster kids are gonna get hurt and killed. And she said, and she yeah, so Callie stands up for herself, and Justine says, you don't know what you don't know what you just did. And she's like, yeah, she did. And she's like, you will. So and secondly, like get her hands away from her daughter. So yeah, so basically, now we gotta talk about the Lena stuff. So Lena is in a meeting with Justine at the board with Justine with Lena, Sally, and Sally's mom, and Sally says that Monty initiated the kiss. She says that she would get something out of her, saying she would get her and get it, and she said, man, that's a lie, Sally. That's not what you told her. And she's like, you confronted her at your daughter party. Her daughter's not gay. She's she's just she's like she has that Lena has feelings for Monty because they're lovers, and it's just like no, you just don't want to believe that Sally's gay, which I think she is. I don't know, but yeah, Sally. So Monty first had Sally initiated the kiss. Sally said Sally initiated the kiss. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So so yeah. So Callie tried to tell Jude that is something on between him and Taylor, and he's like he thought that Jack was gay, and she's like he's not gay, Jude, and he's like, how you know that? And he's like he's like she told him he told her that that what he did was a mistake, and that he wasn't gay, and Jude's like, I don't believe you, and he's like and she's like, whatever, lie, Jude, and she's like, yeah, you lie all the time, Callie. So yeah, so so Jude says he wasn't really into guys. It was, and she's like, what about Connor? And he was like, it's just the person. And she's like, are you into girls, Jude? And Jude kisses Taylor. So yeah, so yeah, so Callie gets a comment from a reporter saying that she made up the accusations against Justina, and she said no comment. So the reporters basically go to Callie's school directly, and she has no comment, and she's like, are you making these allegations because Justina knew that you slept with your foster brother, Brendan Foster? And Stephanie are basically like, they're going to sue Justina because of that about because they know that she's not telling the truth, because you can't sue her. And she's like, yeah, we absolutely can sue Justina. And she's like, you can't because they were right about her sleeping with Brandon. So they now know. And Nick burns. So Nick goes to his warehouse, shows that he had the letter that Mariana was that Matt gave Mariana, burns the letter along with the warehouse, and then shows up at school next day, taking a gun out of his clock compartment, ending the episode and season 3 in general. I enjoyed this season. I thought season 3 was way better than season 2. Mariana was kind of annoying as her season 2 self, and I just enjoyed the season. Jesus' interactions with Gabe and his storyline with Gabe was great. For some, yeah. Brandon moving on from Callie to Courtney. But anyway, yeah. So I give this season a 10 out of Foster's points. I really enjoyed the relationship this season between KJ, from Matiana to Nariana, and to Bortney. So I think the winner of this love fest over the season is Matiana, since they had more scenes together than all of the couples in this season. So last season, I think Gemma won. Did Matiana win last? I think Wiley won last time, but this time Matiana wins this time. So thank you guys. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you guys for season 4. I hope you have a great season for those reviews.